It's 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm already feeling sorry for myself. I can't travel anywhere this week. We have a lot of family obligations, a lot of work. It's summer, which is always my least favorite season of the year. It's very hot, days are long, it hasn't rained in weeks, and so everything's just very kind of dry and wilty. As penance for my bad attitude, and frankly also as an exercise in paying attention, I have given myself an assignment. I'm making myself find at least 3 nice photographs in my own front yard, my own front and backyard, in the next 2 hours before I start work. I say penance, but who am I kidding? I'm 20 feet from my front door. If I need more coffee, it's right there. If I need a different lens, it's right there. I'm in flip-flops. My dog is in the yard. This is no great burden, let's be honest. It's just that this setting and this whole time of year is not what inspires me. And so I think that this will be a good exercise in, and a good example, I think, of how attitude can constrict or expand our vision. And so I'm going to try to move into the yard, look for photographs with an expansive vision this morning. I also realize that I have bedhead, and so I'm going to be putting on a hat. Let's see what we can find. I was surprised when I came outside this morning that a lot of the bees were already active, just because it's warming up so much earlier. However, I did just see a bumblebee that's still kind of drowsy on this plant over here. I don't know what kind of plant it is. I'll put it on the screen. So I'm just going to get a shot of this bumblebee while it's still kind of drowsy, still waking up, and it doesn't mind me getting too close with my lens. I just spent a lot of my allotted 2 hours working on a composition around one flower, and it's some echinacea that we have in our yard. Because they're kind of going to seed a little bit, they're definitely past their prime this season. There are these little sprouts that frankly I don't like, but I'm trying to capture what is rather than what I wish is. That's the whole point of this exercise. The one that I have set up now is kind of interesting. It's from the side, and then the petals are leading lines into the cone part of the echinacea. I think it's okay. It feels like more of a warm-up shot, and it is actually already warming up, so that fits. The sun is already coming up very quickly. My attitude is still not awesome, but I'm using the Nikon Z8. I'm using focus shift shooting, which is going to take a series of shots. I think I have it set it up for something like 70 shots to get everything in focus from the front to the back. I said 3 good shots. I actually don't know that this qualifies, but it's a shot. It's now almost 8 o'clock. As you can tell, the sun is now well and truly up. The light is quite harsh already. I have to go start work, but I don't think that I have my 3 shots. Okay, yes. Hello, I was about ready to go on for a long time there, but in the editing I realized that I could say what I said better and more concisely, and so I'm just going to do it here. What happened is that my 2 hours were up. I didn't have my 3 compositions. I had worked with 2 subjects so far, the echinacea and the bumblebee on the lavender, but the world was waking up. The sun was already quite harsh, and I had to start my work day. But I also realized that the 2-hour time limit that I had given myself was kind of arbitrary, very unnecessary, because I live here. I can come back that night. I could come back the next morning, even on my lunch break from work. And so that is what I did. Throughout the week, I spent time exploring our front yard and our backyard, looking for compositions. Sometimes I went out intentionally, but other times something would just catch my eye when I was on my way to do something else. This was my main setup for that week, for the front yard challenge. This is the Nikon Z8 and the 105mm macro lens. I do really like shooting macro, but I recognize that it is easy for me to get complacent doing macro photography, because this makes something that was small now very, very big, and I can simply just marvel at the details. And in that sense, it's kind of easy, but I do still need to think carefully about composition and about light, even when it is a rapidly changing scene, as with bees on a flower. One day this week, we had some family stop by to pick pears off of our pear tree, and as they chatted on our patio, I just plopped myself down in the middle of the garden path and I just kept photographing bees and flowers with this. Here are a few photos from that week, and then I will come back with some final thoughts. The final shot I took of the week during my front yard challenge was of my dog Ginny. She is quite old and still very much camera shy. She has never liked me pointing my camera at her. I often will have to trick her by holding a treat either above my head or above the lens to get her to look right at me. But she follows me everywhere. She's completely devoted and totally sweet. And I did like this final shot of her that I took in our very dry summer front yard. Now, I want to make it clear that I really love our yard, even when it is dry and wilty and kind of past its peak. In fact, 2 years ago for Christmas gifts, we made a calendar featuring photos that I had taken in our yard. We call our house the Burrow, which is why the calendar was called the Burrow. And it might seem like an odd Christmas gift, but it actually turned out really, really well. And our friends and family seemed to love it. In fact, we received messages about it all year long. And so as I kind of wrap up, I'm going to share some of those other front yard photos from the calendar. There are several strategies that help me when I'm photographing in my own yard. One is to embrace the season. I shoot what is there rather than what I wish was there. Sometimes I photograph the yard in the snow or in the rain. Sometimes it's golden light. This week, as you saw, the lavender, the echinacea, other plants were very much past their prime, kind of wilting in a heat wave. Nothing really could be done about it. And so I just looked for the parts of it that I found, if not beautiful, then still quite compelling. Another strategy that I use is to take time with a scene. My favorite writer, Wendell Berry, has a short book. It's actually behind me. Do I have it here? Yeah. He has a short book called Whitefoot, and it's told from the perspective of a mouse called Whitefoot. And early in the book, Berry says that to imagine the life and adventures of Whitefoot, you have to compress your mind to her size. And that kind of imagination and empathy, I think, can be helpful when doing macro photography. It's not just about kind of having a sense of, say, like where you'll find a bug or an insect or something or whatever. It's also, I think, about settling in and waiting as the scene kind of unfolds, as the details present themselves to you in time. The snail that's hiding in the leaves, the curious jumping spider that's been watching you the whole time. Another strategy I have is to always keep the camera close at hand. My office shed is about 40 feet from the back door of our house. And so sometimes I will just carry the camera back and forth with me if I have to go inside in case I see something on my way. And other times the camera just lives on a table by the back door. In some ways, this is the opposite approach of the slow and patient strategy that I just talked about. But there is a great quote from the writer Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "Sometimes the glance reveals what the gaze obscures. And when the glance reveals something, it's nice to know that this is going to be close at hand. Finally, if I'm stuck, I will try to change my perspective. I will get low to the ground. I will shoot through leaves. I will frame my subject against the sky. Something I like to do is actually shoot underneath a flower, looking up. The magic when shooting in a front yard isn't necessarily a brand new subject. It's often looking at the familiar in a new and fresh way. Overall, I would say that this week's front yard challenge was fun, and my theory was validated. My attitude will either expand or constrict my vision for my photographs. And yet, if I'm honest, I still can't wait for the fall. It has been 104 degrees here the last 3 days. I am ready for rain and fog and autumn colors, but as this week proves, I shouldn't wait around for those conditions to get my camera out. There are subjects to photograph, and frankly, subjects worth photographing, subjects worthy of photographing, right here where I am and right now, no matter the season, no matter the weather. What about you? Have you done much photography at home? Have you ever done your own front yard challenge? Tell us about it in the comments. And I'm just remembering that years ago, I made a list of 61 things to photograph at home, along with some different examples of, photographs that I had taken. And I remember that exercise being kind of eye-opening. Wow, I've actually taken a lot of photographs that I like here at home. Would that make for an interesting video, 61 things or 50 things or whatever it would be to photograph at home, or would that just be terribly dull? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. No matter what, thank you friends for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks again. Bye-bye.